Hello everybody and welcome back to the Overlap Breakdown channel. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Umay, who's a professional football scout and analyst, and we're here today to cover Marcus Rashford's move to FC Barcelona. Okay, morning Umay. It's been quite a nice week of a bit more chill time instead of, constantly having to record and get pieces out. But the appreciation on the channel has been incredible over the past couple of months, so thank you very much for that. And today we're here to talk about probably one of the most, probably like the size of the transfers, probably one of the biggest in this summer window, and that's Marcus Rashford to Barcelona. And I just wanted to ask you off the rip, it's a bit bigger than just this transfer, what's going on with Rashford.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, what do you think about sort of the player, the past 18 months of his career, what's happened at Manchester United, obviously from a sort of an outside perspective? What have you made of sort of his last 18 months and then all leading up to this move to Barca?
Yeah, look, to address the elephant in the room, I think it's been unusual and unfortunate the way he's been ostracised and the way his career has fizzled out at Manchester United when you've got a player who's come through in the manner that he did, growing up and playing for Manchester United Academy. That's been the hallmark of Manchester United as a club for decades.
Yeah.
And you'd always expect players like that to see out their career at Manchester United, play at the highest level and win trophies, things like that. I think from an outsider, since Sir Alex Ferguson left and the periods that Manchester United have had that have been sort of up and down, Marcus Rashford at his best has been one of the highlights of that team throughout that period. So I think from an outsider, and I'm sure you as a fan as well will echo my sentiment in saying that it's very unfortunate what's kind of happened.
Yeah.
I think when there's such a disagreement between the higher ups and the coaches and a player like that, it's only sensible and it's only right to kind of part directions. In my opinion, I always want a club to keep the foundational core centre to everything that they do. And McTominay leaving and Rashford leaving as well seems to kind of go away a little bit from that and move towards a more win now model, which feels unfortunate to me. But in the last 18 months, we've seen him move to Villa. I think at Villa actually was quite impressive. I always talk about that game against PSG. Before he was subbed off, he was in flow state. And what could have been if Emery kept him on, it would have been brilliant in my opinion. And they could have really pushed that PSG side. But he's had really good glimpses. He's played well. He's linked well with Asensio actually at Aston Villa. And I think it's the right time for him to move on from Manchester United. I think the pressure and the toxicity around how he was perceived by some fans and the higher ups as well make it a relationship that probably wouldn't mend itself at this point. And we can see that the team that he's been linked to, Barcelona, a really high quality team, one of the best teams in the world last season, prove that there's still belief that Marcus Rashford can be a player of the highest quality.
Yeah, I think it's very hard for me to speak about Marcus Rashford because I'm a Manchester United fan, like from young, and I think sort of the era that I grew up watching Manchester United, it wasn't the glory days of, Ferguson and 08 and then back-to-back Champions League finals and so on. It's a bit worse than that. It was we're fighting for European places and this kid comes out of nowhere and kind of carries us to certain moments. And as a Manchester United fan who absolutely loves what we stand for in terms of the academy, it was really hard to sort of like detach yourself from making this decision. And I think there's a lot of Manchester United fans out there who are basically saying that, we've been robbed of this deal. I think the reported buyout fee from Fabrizio Romano, the option to buy after the loan, is 25-30 million euros, which is nothing in the grand schemes of football. And he's took a marginal pay cut to go to Barcelona as well. And for me, as a Manchester United fan, you can't turn your nose up at sort of anything that Barcelona have sort of done with this signing, because you've exiled and axed the player from training. You've publicly talked about him not wanting to be at the club. You've loaned him out the season before to a better opposition in the same league. And now you're loaning him out again with a very, very low option to buy. And it's clearly that Manchester United are open to get rid of him, both manager and the higher ups. And as David Ornstein said on the fan debate, Manchester United initiated this proceeding. This was a Manchester United sort of decision to make this. It wasn't Rashford's or whatever. And I'm not defending Rashford. Last 3 years, there has been moments where I want more from him. The body language is a massive problem. Sort of his work out of possession, maybe some of the stuff reportedly off the field, all that sort of stuff. I do understand it, but I think we shouldn't be, as a club who stands for all these things, doing this. And you can't you can't criticise Barcelona for taking this deal on a cut fee when you've exiled him from the squad.
Yeah.
And
I'll always say top level quality, you have to learn and try to maximise that within your squad.
Yeah.
And the reason why he's gone to Barcelona is because they still think that they can extract that top level quality from him.
Yeah, so we're going to move on now generally into what the signing does, but yeah, I must reiterate, it's not an easy transfer to watch happen. And I know it's not set in stone.
Yeah.
There's potential for him to come back to Manchester United, and there is an option to buy on the table, which isn't the same as an obligation, of course.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying the video and want more tactical analysis and podcasts, please press the subscribe button below and hit the bell to enable post notifications. We are going to talk about how the chances of him doing well at Barcelona, in my and Umair's opinion, are quite high. So I've got a per 90 graphic here which shows Marcus Rashford per 90 minutes in the 24-25 season against pretty much every single Barcelona forward from last season. And we can see that he's got pretty respectable numbers in terms of the teams that he's played for. Don't forget that Barcelona scored like 102 league goals last season. So like the difference in the terms of the output of the players is going to be a lot higher. But a very respectable 0.7 goals plus assists per 90 for Rashford last season, coming off a down season, which is still a very good number. But then you compare that to a 1.08 of Rafinha, 0.77 of Lamine Yamal, 1.03 of Lewandowski, Ferran Torres, 1.22.
Yeah.
So they've got extremely good goal getters. And I want to speak today about how Hansi Flick is probably the best man for Marcus Rashford.
Yeah.
So last season, in all competitions, Barcelona actually had 5 players score 12 or over goals, and the minimum of the GA of them players is 18. So we're talking about having firepower in the Barcelona squad. And these aren't players that are universally rated. Remember what happened to Rafinha the season before. Hansi Flick come, Ferran Torres is in there, Dani Olmo is in there, obviously Lamine Yamal and Robert Lewandowski. But I think in terms of what Barcelona did last season, I'm going to let you kind of take the reins on this because we just spoke about it off camera. But there's a potential for obviously Rafinha to move inside like he did last season. He played a lot down the middle as a number 10. But I think people are looking at Marcus Rashford as potentially being this sort of inverted right-footed left winger who can cut in, shoot, get the crosses to the back post. But can you explain to me how Barcelona's sort of overriding team dynamics actually suit Marcus Rashford, especially with Balde behind him?
Yeah, so look, I always try and think back to the best version of a certain player, and does the team that they move into sort of, or are they able to facilitate that for him? Now, if we think about the Manchester United at the best, I think Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford had a brilliant chemistry. So automatically, do they have an overlapping, strong attacking fullback who can get up and get down the pitch? Certainly, I think Balde has been arguably one of the best, if not the best, left back. Or Nuno Mendes might have a question about that. But Balde's certainly been, in terms of that sort of profile, a brilliant player. We spoke a little bit about it off camera, about how people sometimes say they want Marcus Rashford to be inside here when you've got an overlapping fullback. Whereas in our opinion, I think he does a lot of his best work in close association with that fullback. So instead of hugging the touchline completely, coming in situationally whilst the opposition, whilst his side fullback is pushing up alongside him and almost releasing these passes into these areas for, obviously this would be a lot higher up the pitch, but releasing these passes into these areas for Balde perhaps to get onto those chances. And then when that cutback comes in, he's poised really nicely to get shots inside, whereas he's not trying to receive the ball between the lines in these sort of very cramped and contested areas. And I think at times he's been used as a number 9, which I think is a possibility in this Barcelona side, particularly with the variety and profiles with Lewandowski getting a little bit older. You can either move Rafinha perhaps, or play Ferran Torres in there, or play Marcus Rashford in there by himself. But when he plays in there, sometimes he struggles to get involved in the game and feel the game
especially
as well.
Against a deeper block.
When there's not enough space and when there's a player kind of on his back kind of thing. So I wouldn't want him to stay camped in these areas. I either want him to play in bigger spaces in transition, especially down the middle, making these sort of in-to-out runs, or rather out-to-in runs, or in a more set defence, kind of situationally moving into these positions freed by a Balde. So I think they're generally sort of ways that you can think about using a Marcus Rashford in general. One thing that we've spoken about, and I'm sure we'll speak about it a little bit more later on in the video, is the principles that Barcelona do show.
Yeah.
And the way that they do play is, initially in their build-up play, they spread their play really wide. They have these enticing movements, especially these smart rotational movements in a triangle-like fashion that we've spoken about before. that ensure players are occupying the right zones, but make it really hard for opposition to kind of mark them essentially. And in doing so, they often free passing lanes directly from the centre backs to their attackers, and then they're attacking big spaces again. So Marcus Rashford, with his pace, with his quality in behind, with his ball striking, if they play more directly, he's certainly going to get chances. You've got a creative passer in Lamine, and your runner outlet was Rafinha, and I think Rashford can do that exact role and kind of make the same step up that Rafinha did going from Leeds to Barcelona.
Yeah, perfect. I think, I had to ask you to do the left wing thing because obviously at Manchester United, I've seen, well, last season actually, before Erik ten Hag got sacked, he sort of changed his system to have Rashford purely receiving on the touchline, but like even dropping in here. And then obviously Amorim come in and he played him as sort of this left pocket 10.
I want to ask you about this because before, their relationship got fraught and before there were, messages from the higher ups about getting rid of him and his wages and things like that, I thought he was quite impressive. Amorim's side has been poor at scoring goals, and he scored. I think did he score a brace in a
he scored a brace against Everton. It was a bit weird, did the left 10 thing, because what we've actually done quite well on the left side is sort of, if it's Garnacho playing in the left 10 and Dorgu's out wide, they do this quite a lot. And this is very nice. This is one of the few things that I actually appreciate about Amorim's sort of attacking principles, is that he always wants to create these sort of disorganisations. I think Dorgu against Leeds in pre-season got like 2 of our best chances in the entire game, and that was because he was playing so close to goal. I think because I've seen Rashford hold the width and then obviously play really static inside, I don't like either of them. I think the best one is like in between, which is like these half rolls where he can go in and out like this, and didn't get to see it enough under Amorim, which is sort of the reason obviously why it dwindled out and everything happened. But
he attacked the last line really well, I thought, in those couple of games.
Especially when you play in bigger spaces. I mean, I'm going to go on to speak about it sort of now, actually, I can do this. So Barcelona last season, even though they were sort of a territorial team, so they were playing really high up and boxing oppositions in, they had the second most counter-attacking goals in La Liga last season behind only Atletico Madrid. And then their attacking sides, so we're talking about sort of where are their attacks coming from in terms of the third. So we've got the left side, the middle channel and the right side. Their shot directions from the left side was only 10% of their overall shots, which is the second lowest in La Liga from last season. So they're only having 10% of their overall shots from this left flank. And obviously that can be put down to maybe Rafinha moving inside, occupying these central zones, and we've got Balde out here who's not much of a cut-and-shoot type of player. But with Rashford there, we were talking about Arsenal, about other teams saying another string to the bow. Marcus Rashford, believe me, Barcelona fans, he will cut in and shoot from this area a lot. And that is one of his best qualities, to do that. He's near post shooting. He can sort of use the eyes against the keeper. His ability to knuckleball it, his ability to whip it, his ability to disguise shots and turn them into far post crosses. I'm looking at Lewandowski for that. There is a lot of potential for Marcus Rashford to fit in to Barcelona's dynamics. And even though Hansi Flick sort of brought both his philosophy and Barcelona's DNA together, we saw Barcelona's best football, or most exciting football, maybe not best, when they were playing these sort of more counter-attacking vertical situations. And I think, as you mentioned before, that's when I wouldn't mind seeing Marcus Rashford play up front. I think his goal that he scored at Brighton away for Villa last season in the Premier League come from playing on the counter as a number 9, running in behind. And the big question for me that I have about Marcus Rashford is, how physically capable is he at his age? He's coming into his prime, theoretically. He's coming into 27, 28 now. He's into his last sort of big push to be one of Europe's best players. And I wonder, does he still have that sort of pace, power, dynamism to run in behind and be that ruthless? I know he's put on quite a lot of upper body strength in terms of like the muscle he's put on. He played up front a lot more, so he's a lot more of a bigger player. But can he trim down, and can he become this lightning fast inside forward that I was so used to seeing him at Manchester United? And if we don't forget, his best football come under either Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or Erik ten Hag's first season. And what did they both do really well? Play vertical and play this transitional end-to-end attack space, getting behind sort of football.
One thing I just want to add on to that is, when you're asking how do you utilise a player, is he physical enough? Can he do what Flick wants? I sort of posed the reverse question. Can Flick utilise perhaps a less physical player, and can he manage his minutes or how much intensity he's running with in games? And one thing that comes to mind, and I'll just demonstrate that if it's okay, is how Barcelona actually do press with the ball. Now, if you think about how physical their forward line is, I would say Lewandowski is the one who stands out as not being particularly physical compared to the other players.
Yeah.
But Lewandowski didn't look out of place playing in this Barcelona side. Now, I think that's for a number of reasons. Firstly, you had Lewandowski as your number 9 kind of player. Imagine the blue team are starting off from a goal kick. In general, you'd expect most teams to have one of their strikers press the centre-back. Now, I think Flick knew and he understands and he appreciates that Lewandowski is not the most physical player. So to have him sprinting out here, and if the ball goes here, shifting over and sprinting out here, it's a difficult task for him to do. So to protect his legs and to ensure that he's as efficient as he is in later parts of the game, instead of having him press it, he had him sit on one of the double pivot players. Someone like Olmo in these situations, or whoever the number 10 was, would jump up and be the other player on the opposition's double pivot. Now your wingers in Rafinha and Lamine Yamal are a lot more physical, a lot more high intensity, and they would often be the ones who would press in here as well. And then you'd have Balde pushing up high, and if the ball went out into these areas, jumping up as well. Now, in my opinion, I think Marcus Rashford does a lot of his best attacking work from these wide areas, but can I imagine him pressing all the way here? Perhaps not at the start. Maybe if he's got his fitness up and he's got the trust of Flick later on in the season. But defensively, I think having him down the middle and then having him sit on one of the opposition defensive midfielders would preserve a lot of that intensity and allow him to kind of feel his way into the league and not have him to run too much if he's not at that level yet. So that's just one thing to keep an eye on, and it's one of the pros perhaps of playing him down the middle to begin with.
Do you think Flick? I think Flick will be sort of ruthless with Rashford. I think he'll be. I absolutely love the pressing scheme we spoke about before that they do with Lewandowski, and I think it shows Flick's ability to platform players both on and off the ball. I think you look at Marcus Rashford and you kind of go, why can't you press? Do you know? Like, no, you are going to press.
Well, we know
Rafinha,
Rashford.
do it.
And we know Rashford's pushed for the move to Barcelona above anyone else. He's not wanted
openly.
He's not wanted to go to Bayern Munich. No. I think he's if he's not United and Villa have not extended his loan, his loan's almost to audition for a Barcelona move, in my opinion. Now he's at Barcelona. I think he wants to be the main man at Barcelona. So I think so too. And I think he will press. I do think this gives you another option if I think Rafinha's better at him than pressing, for example. But in my opinion, I think perhaps, look, if he can't press for 80 or 90 minutes, he'll be used as a rotation option with Rafinha on that left. But I certainly agree that that's what Flick will want him to be at the end of the season, for example.
I think I'm really excited for the move. I think a lot of the team dynamics suit him. I think the way that sort of Flick uses the rotations on the wide flanks to get these players inside, outside, frees up the marking. I'm looking at his connection with Balde, and I know that Balde actually said that Marcus Rashford, I think, is his favourite English player of all time. I think so. It was something like that, or something like one player you'd like to play for Barcelona one day. So he already has sort of the understanding for each other in terms of Marcus Rashford loves Barcelona, Balde likes him as a player, person. I'm really excited for that sort of left-hand side, and I'm worried for a lot of other teams' right-hand sides against that. But I think Flick's ability to sort of play on the transitions at some points, can we hold possession for some points? Marcus Rashford's still a very good player in set possession, by the way. He's not a counter-attacking pure player. Some of his crossing from sort of penning teams in.
I like when he gets to these areas.
Really good lofted back post crosses. So I'm not calling him a transition player at all, but he does excel more there.
And I feel like he's not had the chance to showcase that quality very often. You mentioned Ole, that's perhaps his best seasons and the times when he's been able to do it most.
I'm really excited for the move, and I think as someone who really likes him as a player and a person, I'm just like, I really want you to succeed here because I think it's his last chance, and it would make me very, very happy if he did, obviously.
Get him on the plane.
Get him on the plane for the World Cup, But no, it's a tough one to take, but I think it's the right move for all parties, literally all parties, United, Rashford and Barcelona. But I'm really, really rooting for him on this move, so I hope he can retain a league title. So thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy, please don't forget to like, comment and follow the channel. And let us know what you think about Marcus Rashford's move to Barcelona down below. Thank you.